The new year. Few things in the world spark joy and, well, confusion like the new year does, specifically when it comes to the laws that are going to be coming on the books. And here in Michigan, we are no different than anywhere else. We have a whole bevy of laws that are now going to be enacted that have been passed by Congress over the previous year. Today, we're going to be looking at the minimum wage increase that is happening as of January 1st, 2026, the effects for basically small and medium sized businesses as well, and things just so you can be aware as an employee and as a business owner so that you can, hey, make sure that you're in compliance. And if you're an employee and you feel you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting, you'll have some information to be able to work with that. Okay. So again, my name is Ryan Howe. I'm a business coach that works out of West Michigan and around the country. And I come here on YouTube sharing information I share with my clients, and I hope to earn your subscription. So let's get into it here. Again, this is from mlive.com. Link is in the description for the article. Be sure to go check that out. 4 things to know about Michigan's minimum wage increase coming January 1st. Now let's start with the first things first. When it comes to, we're going to get into tipped wages. And that's one of the things that people, for whatever reason, struggle with at times, understanding that piece. And what it is that the now listen, now by the way, tipping is something that everyone's got an opinion on. Feel free to drop your opinion down in the comments about where you're at on tipping. I've lived in Europe, I lived abroad, I've lived in a lot of places where tipping wasn't the norm. And you come back to America and we've got tipping culture, which everywhere you go now, people are asking for tips. But we're gonna be looking at the tipped wage. Okay. And the thing to keep in mind here specifically, again in Michigan, where it's at, is that there is a minimum wage that employers are required to pay unless people do not get enough tips to cover the difference, right, to what the minimum wage is. And that's kind of they're guaranteed the minimum wage. However, the tipped portion of what their wage, that's a portion of tips, counts towards that minimum wage as a whole. Okay. So it's not, there's safeguards in place, right? But anyways, tipping culture is just one of those things that we have in America, and we've got to have wages for it, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay. And if you don't like it, or if you do like it, make sure you elect the appropriate people to make whatever changes you're looking for. All right. So again, minimum wage is going to go up by 10%. Where's it at here? Starting January 1st. Like, that's the highlight. I'm going to bring up an infographic here. We're going to zip through the article, but I have an infographic we're going to look at that's going to give us a better breakdown of kind of wherever things are at here. Again, the jump is from the current minimum wage of $12.48 to $13.73 an hour. It's the second in a series of increases that will eventually see the state's minimum wage tied to inflation. This is something that the legislature, along with the governor, they came to an agreement with after getting involved with the courts and the way that was passed. Right, all this, there's an awful lot of, I want to say this here, legislative and judicial basically injection into this process. At the end of this, we're gonna get to the minimum wage is then going to be tied to basically the rate of inflation for CPI. That's where we're getting to. But they're doing it over time instead of doing it all at once, which is what the way that the law was written. Now, the changes stem from Michigan's Improvement Workforce Opportunity Wage Act, enacted earlier this year. It was a compromise between the Senate and the House that we have here in Michigan, right? Republicans control the House, Democrats control the Senate, to prevent tipped workers from becoming minimum wage workers. Here are the 4 things we need to know. Okay, we got increases. We're going to take a look at those. There's a lot of math going on here. Just understand that here's like the big ones. We're going to $13.73 up from $12.48. Tipped employees are going to increase to $5.49 on January 1st. That's up from $4.74. And again, if the worker's base pay plus tips doesn't add up to the minimum wage, the employer is going to make up the difference to get them to the minimum wage. As somebody who used to be a tipped worker back when I was a server, I made much, much, much more than the minimum wage with my tips as a server. I can't honestly remember what the minimum wage was. It's been a while since I did that. This is back in Texas. But all that being said, I was making close to $20 an hour, a little over $20 an hour with my tips. So it's just, one of those things. That's why so many folks are pushing against the, as far as for tip minimum wages, especially for a lot of servers. Depending on where you're working and how you're working, you make an awful lot of money on your gratuity. Okay. Now, again, the 85% minimum wage for minors 16 to 17 will increase from 10.60 to 11.67 as well. Again, there's more increases to come. Again, we've got the whole thing where things are going to make the way up to $15. We got the base pay. There's a lot of adjustments. So it's currently at 38. Now it's going to 40. And after that, it's going to be basically 2% each year until it hits 50% of the minimum wage in 2031. Again, just one of the things we have, it's designed to give small business owners and restaurants the ability to absorb the wages over time. Getting hit all at once with these is something that many of them they would have gone out of business, is what they say. Take that with whatever grain of salt that you want to have. Okay. Again, this was the compromise that came through. Not worried about the wage debate piece. Here's one last thing. Okay, let's go through this. This really breaks it down. Again, quick cover on this, folks, here. It's stuff that I've got out to my clients just so they're aware. By the way, this is another thing too. We got the training wage, right? We talked about these others here, the standard workers, minors, tipped employees, right? This is where the new wages are going to be at. But then there's the training wage as well too. And again, it's unchanged. It's for workers under 20 and only for the first 90 days. I don't know a lot of folks that really use this anymore, but it's still on the books. Future wage scheduled through 2027. I thought this would be good to show here. So we got 2026, we're at $13.73. And then finally next year, $15 an hour is where we land. And then 2028 and beyond is going to be inflation adjusted. Okay, so that is going to be off the CPI to see where we're at. That's what's coming. That's what you can look forward to. And again, the right here, the state treasurer will calculate annual adjustments based on inflation published by November 1st of each year, so that by January of the following year, the minimum wage will go up. Like, that's what they're at. So here's let me make this a little bit larger for you guys. So impact on Michigan businesses. Many pay scales are tied to minimum wage. There's a calculator down here. I just want to show you that's going to be able to help people understand kind of what the difference is. Budget planning, 10% labor costs for minimum wage workers, competitive pressure, right? You're going to have to keep up with those things, and then compliance. So let's do the impact here. Let's say you are a restaurant with 20 employees, averaging, let's say 30, because that's what I think 29 in Michigan is the threshold for full time. But let's take a look. Here's the impact. The annual cost for 20 employees is going to be $40,000 a year, $39,000 a year. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Again, if small businesses just got 10, same thing. It's going to be 20 grand more that they're going to have is what the impact is. That doesn't include taxes, benefits, again, and other effects that that's going to have. Okay, folks. So again, real quick stream today. I simply just wanted to hop on here to highlight. Here's what we have with the minimum wage. It's coming in Michigan. Just be prepared and just know that starting in 2028, now it's with CPI. I don't know many business owners that are not paying, that not only guarantee the minimum, they don't guarantee the minimum wage when it comes to the wage earners. They'd bump it up. Actually, a lot of the business owners that I know, they're in the $17.50 to $18 is what they guarantee for minimum wage if the tips don't get there. They've even bumped that up. Okay. So with that, again, appreciate everybody who's hung out this long. Hopefully I earned your subscription today. Again, if you want to learn more about how I help businesses grow faster than they ever thought possible, and I help businesses get ready to sell at multiples that buyers, again, that attracts many, many buyers, go ahead and check out the link down below at summitbusinessguys.com. Take care. We'll see you next time.